What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy, ModzvilleUSA, back with the longest video I have ever made. I have been working on this video for about 2 weeks now, getting footage, just doing everything as I go along, and this is the final result. Now, you may be looking at the time of this thing being like, hey, this is pretty unwieldy, and there are a lot of ads. Well, here's the deal. I've compiled timestamps for every little thing you could need to know about transferring, setting up a 2 terabyte PS2, or any PS2 for that matter, that's dealing with an internal hard drive. And we got timestamps for everything, so if you want to come back, there's little things you don't need. Maybe you know some of this, but some things are a bit, mysterious to you. Just go to the different timestamps. And if you plan on watching this video in its entirety, turn on an ad blocker. I won't mind. That's what I would do. I know that's going against the YouTube creator etiquette to encourage that sort of thing, but I'm not one to judge. There are going to be a lot of ads. If you want to watch this whole thing in its entirety, just pop an ad blocker on, and whatever. But if you suffer through the ads, I appreciate you. That helps me out. That helps the channel out quite a bit. I'm also going to be doing a giveaway. We'll get into that in a second. Here's what you're going to need. You're going to need one of these bad boys. This is a hard drive enclosure. It's got to be powered. USB 3.0 is recommended. You'll need that to connect your PS2 to your computer. Alternatively, you can just power it if you have a tower like I do. You can just hook it up like any other hard drive. That will work, but this is way more convenient, especially if you're going to be hooking it up, unplugging it, hooking it up, unplugging it. You don't want to have to deal with that if you don't have to. You're also going to need one of these bad boys. This is a SATA modded. As you can see, this has a SATA port on it. Very easy to do. They sell these, and I'm going to be linking everything you need down in the description below. You're also going to need a free McBoot memory card, which I do not go over the setup process of free McBoot. There are plenty guides on YouTube for this already. But honestly, I'd recommend, if you don't have one, just buy one that's pre-configured. I've got an eBay seller, trusted, linked to one of these down below. So if you're starting from scratch, if you don't have the proper game that you need to get free McBoot installed, I believe it's 007 Agent Under Fire. It's, pretty much cheaper to just grab a free McBoot memory card. You're going to need a 2 terabyte hard drive. So yeah, let's get into this giveaway, guys. I'm going to be giving away a 2 terabyte hard drive, free McBoot memory card, and a SATA adapter. So you can save some scratch, get everything you need to set something up like this. You'll need to already have a fat PS2, obviously. But yeah, if you guys want to get in on that, hit up that Gleam description in the description down below. And build your own decked out PS2. It will be fun. This is the first giveaway I've ever done. I've gone many years now with zero networking and zero gimmicks besides the old face here. But I figured, channel's been growing, starting to get a little bit of a community here, so I might as well, give back to y'all for sticking around and just showing my appreciation here. So with that being said, let's jump right into this unwieldy video, and we'll start by setting up the hard drive, then adding PS2 games to the console. Go ahead and download the mega pack that I got put together for you. All the programs that you're gonna need to do everything in this freaking video. Appreciate you guys, and enjoy. Alright guys, so I've got my hard drive hooked up to my PS2 with my network adapter, as well as my free McBoot memory card from eBay plugged in. Console's fired up, and here we are in free McBoot. Now the first thing we're going to want to do is format the hard drive, so we're going to go into Launch Elf. Right here we are, File Browser. Then we go to MISC, and these are miscellaneous apps. Now all we gotta do is go into HDD Manager. Alright, as you can see, for a connected hard drive it says yes, formatted says no, R1 brings up the menu, so let's do that. And we are going to format. Boom. So this is how you format your hard drive, as well as create and manage different partitions. You can also expand them. So for partitions, OPL is its own partition. Say you were going to add ROMs for various emulators, you would create a new partition and set the size, like say 50 gigs for all the various ROMs you might want to add. That might be a bit excessive, but that's an example. And if you want to add PS1 games, that's going to also need to be its own partition with a very specific setup. It's .pops. We'll get into that in a little bit, but for now we're just going to format the drive. Hey, so that took about a minute or so. As you can see, we got 99% free. That'll do it. So 2 terabytes, that is the max that you can have for a PS2. You may, I've felt for this as well, you may get confused, like seeing different listings like on Etsy or eBay, like 4 terabyte PS2, 8 terabyte PS2. Those are all very misleading listings. Those are multiple 2 terabyte drives that they will give you. So, you know, you put in one hard drive and you can browse, you know, A through G, you know, and then you got to switch it out for another hard drive. Really not the ideal setup. Ideally, you just load up what you want to have. You shouldn't need to have every single game. There's a lot of shovelware on the PS2. They made a shitload of games for it, so you should be able to get everything you want on one PS2. So we got this formatted. Now we're going to need to create an OPL partition, and instead of doing it in the HDD manager, we are going to boot up OPL, and it will create everything we need for us. So within these OPLs and apps, we got PNP-SDLD.elf. That's what your OPL should be named. We're going to let it boot up, do its thing. Now while we're in here, we might as well set up some settings. Oh, and also, this version of OPL, these latest versions, have the PS1 Games option, which older versions do not. That's why you want to have one of the latest builds possible. So you get this PS1 Games option. It's very nice. Cool. Everything looks good. We're going to hit exit. Yes. We're going to double check that and make sure that it created an OPL folder for us. Go launch ELF. Beautiful. And as you can see, we've got this nice little OPL folder here. And the size is 128 megabytes. Now, we're going to be adding a whole lot of artwork, and 128 megabytes, I don't believe that's going to cut it. So we are going to go R1 and expand it. We're going to give it a good solid 1 gigabyte. Hit OK. Alright. And while we're in here, we're going to need to create a folder. And I'm going to make one called ROMs. Now, if you don't want to mess with emulators, you don't need to do this, but I do, so there. Okay, and we're gonna make this 30 gigabytes just to cover our bases here. So we're gonna be doing GBA, Game Boy, SNES, full sets, and this should be plenty. All right. Now we're also going to need to create one for PS1 games, which is a bit more involved. Let me double check the name. Okay guys, so let us make our Pops folder, and this is where we're going to be storing PS1 games. They will need to be converted to a VCD format, and we will get into that later. For now, we are doing the preparation. We're going to go to R1, go to create, and this is important. It needs to be labeled underscore dot, all caps, POPS. This is where we put our PS1 VCDs. Okay, now choose how much you want to allocate to PlayStation 1 games, and I am going to do 100 gigs for PS1 games. So there it is. I've got about 100,000 megabytes allocated for this folder here. This partition, meaning this partition here. These will all be my PS1 VCDs. So I should be able to store roughly like 150 PS1 titles. Well worth it. Now keep in mind though, PS1 compatibility is nowhere near as good as PS2. You might have some issues running a lot of games, but it is nice to have this option. And yeah, so we got the Pops folder. Now I'm going to include this folder here, Pops files. These all need to go to our PS2 internal hard drive here, and we've got these multiple folders. So we've got the underscore.pops, underscore common, and within this are two files that I am unable to include for you for legal reasons. But you're going to want to search this. You're going to want to search pops.elf and IOPRP252.img, and it goes in the common and then Pops folder. I will leave a link to a search for you, and then plus OPL Pops is where our popstarter.elf goes. So these Pops files, get your pops.elf and this file in here. I'll probably have placeholders for you, and then these Pops files I'm going to copy and put it somewhere on our flash drive. Got this PS2 folder here, so I'm just going to copy them right here. Pull the flash drive, plug it in to our PS2. Alright, so we're going to back out of this. Triangle to exit, so we're going to go File Browser, go to our flash drive, which is mass, PS2, Pops files. So first we got the plus OPL. So we're going to hover over this Pops one, X to select it, R1 to bring up this menu, circle to choose copy, and then triangle, 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 triangle. We're going to go to HDD0. Then we are going to go to plus OPL, hit R1, paste, And we have this pops folder with pop starter elf. Great. Now we're gonna triangle, then we're gonna go to mass again. Back to the pops folder. Pops files. And we got the underscore common. And we're gonna hit X to copy this. Choose copy. And make sure you've properly acquired this pops.elf and IO prp252.image from the internet, because I am not including those files. Once again, just disclaimer in case you are jumping around the video, that we're copying those over here to underscore common. Paste that pops folder. Beautiful. And now we still have this partition here, which we can freely fill up with VCD games that we can boot from within OPL. And we will be doing that a bit later. Now, for the most part, that's everything we're going to be getting done on our internal hard drive within the PS2 now. Next, we're going to be hooking this up to our computer. So let's get right into that. Okay, guys. So as you can see, I have my PS2's hard drive hooked up to one of these external hard drive cloners that's got USB hard drive dock, whatever you want to call it. I'll have a few linked in the description below. This is hooked up to my computer via USB, and it has external power. So this guy's plugged into my wall, this guy's plugged into my computer, and it is detectable on my computer. Now whatever you do, do not go into computer management or device manager and initialize the drive, because that could I believe if you initialize the drive, it just wipes it out. So do not do that. Now I want to show you how to add games. Let's do that. Okay guys, this is Modzville in the future, and I've been going at this adding games to the hard drive for a couple days now, and I've gone about it a couple different ways. And I'm going to share with you what I've found to be the most optimal way to do this. We're going to need kind of a plethora of programs here to get everything going. First off, we need an old version of OPL Manager. And I'm going to have all this included. I'm going to put a RAR together, put a zip package together of everything I use for you guys to grab in the description. And we need the old version of OPL Manager because all of the newer ones force this naming format that does not go over well when you're using an internal hard drive. There's two different naming formats. One's called the old format, one's called the new format. And confusingly, the newer OPLs force you to use the old format. And the old format looks like a really long string with the game ID, like SLUS, and a number, and then the name of the game, .iso. Now those work great if you're adding games via USB, but if you're doing it via a hard drive, if you add those to your hard drive and you boot up into OPL, you will see the entire game ID. So all your games will be sorted by slus.whatever, so it won't be alphabetical, and that is very obnoxious. So that's why we're using the old OPL Manager, because we want to batch name all of our games to just the name of the game .iso. When ISO, we are going to use this to batch convert all of our bin queue games, these CDs. We're going to convert these to ISO. You can also use OPL Manager to do it one at a time, but I prefer WinISO because it's got an option to just batch convert really quickly. So we're gonna do that real quick. So WinISO, I'm in Windows 10, and in order for this to work for me, I need to go in here into compatibility mode, run in compatibility mode for Windows 7. This is what works for me, and run program as administrator. Okay, without that, nothing really works in the program. It'll boot, but it won't really do much else. So we go yes. We got WinISO here. And this is version, what version is this? WinISO version 5.3. This is the one that you want to get. And damn, it's an old program. This is an application from 2001. Okay. So we just go into batch images, batch convert. Please choose source files. Okay. Oh, and to be clear, right now, all of my games, I've got a batch of games that I've extracted from zips, and they're stored in OPL version 19. One's in CD here. These are the BinQ games. These are what we're going to be converting to ISO. And then all of my ISO DVD-based PS2 games are in DVD. So source files here. Alright, OPL Manager 19, OPL, CD, and we're going to sort by type. We don't need the Q files, I don't believe. Okay, up. And just real quick, we've got one game that's got multiple tracks. Where to go? Dynasty Warriors 2. So with games like this, before we do this batch convert, games like this, we need to use a program called CDMage to whittle this down to one bin file. So we drag the Q over into CDMage. We make sure this is selected up here in the top. We go File, Save As, Dynasty Warriors 2. Yes. Okay. Right on. So now that we got that whittled down to one bin file, we delete these multi-tracks here. We need to close CDMage. Try again. Okay, and go ahead and do that for any bin files you have that are multiple tracks there. And I do not need two versions of Wrath of Cortex. Go ahead and delete that. Okay, then we're back in WinISO. We go convert, batch images convert, select here. OPL Manager, OPL, CDs, okay, and we sort it by type, then we select all of the bins, go open, and I am going to save these to the same exact folder, and then once they're all converted to ISO, I'm going to go back and delete all the bins and Qs and just have the ISOs. There we go. And as you can see, it is converting everything from bin Q to ISO all in one go. Hands off. Nice and easy. Now, something as massive as adding so many games to a PS2 hard drive, a lot of these programs just really don't make it easy to do things in batches. So there's many different programs to add games to the hard drive specifically. The one that you're going to be seeing the most if you were trying to do this from forum information, like I have been, is what is it? HDL Helper GUI, and that one's kind of a drag to use, to be honest. That one, you have to click everything. Oh, what do we got here? Dynasty War, multi-track image. And convert the first track. Are you sure? Let's see. Yes, sure. There's only one track. That'll be fine. Yeah, so HDL Helper GUI, it's very tedious because you have to add games one by one to the queue. HDL Dump Helper, you have to install them one at a time. There's no queue, so that's even more tedious. Recently found this program here, Ps2 HD Handiness, and this one's pretty good. This one's actually create process file. This one's actually pretty damn good. It's similar to HDL Helper GUI. You still need to add games to the queue one at a time, but it's not bad. So as you can see, it detects my hard drive. We can add games. It can even add bins and queues, which is nice. So in my opinion, this is probably the best one to just go through and manage your games, if you're just doing a couple down the line. But we could definitely do better for batch installation. And another problem I've had with HDL Helper GUI, and I've noticed that quite a bit of other people have had this on the internet, and there's really no solution to it, is you do a batch of games, like installing a bunch of games, and then it's no longer usable. You go to launch it up and it'll say this is not an HDL formatted drive, despite it being one. Your hard drive still works on your PS2s, and there's really like nothing you can do except for format it and start all over. So that game, that program's pretty busted. I think I'm in that position now if I were to load it up. So here's HDL Dump Helper, the hard drive HD4. See if it's busted. Yeah, this one just keeps breaking for me. The chosen HDD isn't HDL dump compatible. There's no fix for this except for formatting the drive. You're just kind of screwed, and yeah, it sucks. Not a bad program, but if you run into this error like I have and you don't want to start over, to be honest with you, I already have, and then I still got it eventually, then this program itself is essentially just nuked for you. You try restarting, try a different dock, but for the most part, that's seems to be a common error, and it's pretty brutal. But we've got a very nice solution that's worlds better than using that anyway. We've got a bat file that just you put it in with all of your ISOs you want transferred, and it will do all of them for you, which is very nice. Okay. We're not quite there yet, so now that we've got all these converted to ISOs, we're going to go into OPL Manager V9, where our games are. Go to CD. I'm going to sort this by type. We're going to delete all the bins. I'm going to delete all the queues. Alright. And now all of our CDs are in ISO format. Very nice, very nice. Alright. And unfortunately, the all caps ISO is not going to work out. See these, yeah, all caps ISO, not a good look for the PS2. So what we're going to need to do, and what we would have wanted to do anyway, is boot up OPL Manager version 19, not the latest version. We are going to we're only using this old version to batch, do a batch change of the name here. Tools, convert between ISO naming formats. Okay, we'll go select all, and we are going to convert to new format. Go rename. So I renamed all my games to the old format with this less whatever. Otherwise, naming it to the new one wasn't doing anything. So what I want to do now is try to convert it back to the new format. Select all, convert to new format, and rename. Beautiful. Now let's check it out. OPL CD 6. So it renamed the ISO to just .ISO, the lowercase. DVD. These all look pretty good. And a good chunk of these we might need to make them shorter. If the names are too long, there will be an error transferring them to the PS2 hard drive. So if you see some that are like suspiciously long, like this guy here, Team Saber, let's knock that down. Dante's Awakening, we can get rid of all that. Just .ISO, that's nice. Yeah, any really long ones, it's worth it to just go through and manually knock it down a little bit. Now this bat file that we are going to use, it does have issues with certain things here. Okay, this guy, there's two of these for some reason. It does have issues when it's adding multiple games where like the first X amount of characters are all the same. So like say Dragon Ball Z, Budokai, Tenchi, and then 2, it'll only like read up to this far and then think it's the same thing and skip over it. So we're gonna use the batch file. What you can do is rename them like just slightly different, but what we're gonna try is we're gonna run the batch file, and then anything that it doesn't add, we're gonna clean up in that PS2 Handiness application. So let's get a copy of the bat file and put it in our CD folder. We need to run it separately for both the CDs and the DVDs. So let me just figure out where I put those batch files. Okay, so here's the program. It's called HDL Batcher.bat. We got 2 files in it. So we're going to need to copy these. They're very small files, and we're going to copy a set of them into both of these, in the CD and DVD. I'll probably already have these set up for you guys. These CD and DVD folders should already have the batches in them. And then do this guy here. Boom, so we have it in the CD and we have it in the DVD. Now we're going to go to CD. We're going to do these guys first. And unfortunately, what the instructions, if you're on Windows 10 like me, they say just right click and run it as administrator and you're good to go. That did not work for me. So we're going to be doing it a bit more of an old school route. Not that complicated. But follow along if you're new to all this command prompt stuff. So we go to search, type CMD, right click command prompt, run as administrator, click yes. Alright, now the first thing we got to do is navigate to the drive that all of our ROMs are on. If yours are on the C drive, then you're already set. Mine is on a different drive. Mine is on the J drive. So what I'm going to do is type J colon. Now we're on the J drive. So we go back to the CD doodad here and click up top to get the exact location. We're going to right click copy. Type in CD space and Control V to paste it. Now we're in the proper folder. Now we go down to this bat file here. We're going to highlight it and get the entire name with the file extension HDL HDD Batcher. If you're typing it out, you can just name it something a little bit shorter so it's a bit more convenient. I'm just going to hit Control V here. Alright, and now we are running this program through the command prompt here. And yeah, now you can tell that it's working. If it wasn't in administrator mode, it would say can't find, what is it, HDL.bin, whatever. So it shows us the various hard drives on our computer here. HDD4, that is our PS2 formatted hard drive. So I'm going to hit 4. And now it's asking method to install games. Install as CDs, install as DVDs, or quit. I am doing my CD folder right now. So I'm going to go ahead, hit 1. And there it goes. That's as easy as that. It's going to install all of these games. So much easier than any of the other programs where you just have to sit there and click and click and click and go insane adding each individual game to the queue, to the hard drive, to the whatever. This will wipe out a good chunk of your workload just with this bat file here. And the only thing you want to do really, or need to pay attention to, is when this does a batch, just go back through the command prompt, scroll up like once it's done, and see which ones gave you error. And then I like to copy those into like make a failed folder, copy all the failed games into that, and then just clean up shop with that Ps2 HD Handiness or HDLDUMB, whatever program you want to clean up with. But to get the bulk of your games installed, this is what you want to do. This is nothing better. And yeah, that's final. So I'm gonna let this do its thing. And then we're going to install the DVD batch. Alright, so we got everything installed here. And we're just going to scroll up and go over and make sure we don't get any weird errors for everything we just installed. So we got installing, everything installed just fine. Now we just got to do this for DVDs, and it's going to be a bit longer of a process for me, probably for you as well, as they're much larger. But yeah, pretty much rinse and repeat, and we're going to check those when we're done. Typically I have more issues when installing the DVDs than I do with the CDs, but let's give this a go. Some of these names look a little too long, but we'll just see what it has issues with, and then clean it up later. What is going on, guys? Editing Phil from the future yet again. Some sort of video inception thing going on here. I just want to cut in real quick to let you know that I realize this batch program does not work with double layer disc games. Now there's only a few, like compared to the rest of the games, like God of War. Basically a DVD is 4.7 gigs, so anything larger than that is a double layered disc. So before you run the batch program, what you're going to want to do, say this is our DVD folder right here, you're going to want to sort it by size, and then everything over 4.7 you're going to want to separate. So this would be my batch. We got one that's over 8 gigs, one that's over 6, and Chaos Legion does not look like it's over 4.7. So what we would do we'd cut this. Say make a new folder called DL or something for double layer. Paste it in here. And then once we're done with our batch, just go ahead and use one of those other applications, either HDLDUMB, HDL Helper GUI if that's working for you. And yeah, I'd recommend HDLDUMB. I don't know if Ps2 Helper works for this, but HDLDUMB for sure does. So yeah, back to the video. Scroll to the bottom here. Alright, so we are in OPL Manager CD, so we're scrolled to the DVD one and File Explorer. So we're going to copy this location. I'm going to paste it, hit enter. Oh, nope, CD, space, paste, enter. I'm going to find that bat file. HDL HDD Batcher, copy this whole name, paste, enter. Alright, number 4 is our PS2 hard drive. Hit 4. Then we're doing DVDs, so we're gonna hit 2. And it's installing. I'll just sit back and let it do its thing. Okay, so we've got this finished installing all of the games. So what we're gonna do, scroll up way past the listing of all the games. Alright, and here's the install process. Now what we're gonna wanna do is look for all of these partition with such a name already exists, and typically, like I said earlier, this will happen like especially with something like Xenosaga, where the name is so similar to the previous version, or if it's like a multi-disc kind of thing. It's if it's a long name, it'll only like check X amount of letters before it's like, okay, this is the same thing, despite it being different. So we're gonna select everything that didn't transfer, copy it, or cut it and put it in like a new folder. So what do we got? Ps2, Xenosaga, episode 3, Ps2 of episode 2. Alright. It's gonna keep going. Yeah, Tony Hawk Underground 2. I wasn't able to realize that it's different than Underground 1. What else? Oh yeah, any Tom Clancy game. Yep. Splinter Cell, so Ghost Recon. What installed? Okay, so only Ghost Recon and Lockdown. Everything else did not install. Cool. Let's see, Splinter Cell. Oh, and Splinter Cell 1. Got it. Got it. Cool. So we're just going to select all of these, cut them, put them in a new folder, and I'll see you guys when I get that sorted out. Alright, so I've got all the games that failed to install separated into its own folder here. Okay, so we have all of our failed games here in a new folder, and I've also copied over the HDL dump as well as the bat file here. What we're gonna need to do is go through and rename these, and these are all ones that it thinks the partition is already there. So we're just gonna need to do some sort of variations. So for this, I'm just gonna use an underscore here. And we're gonna wanna like keep them moderately different, and then maybe rename them in OPL later, just to keep it fluid here. Alright, and we'll do like a backspace. You don't want to do like the same thing like for games like these, like Dragon Ball, Bakai, or whatever. You don't want to put underscores or whatever in each of them. You need to have some variation so it looks different to the program. So going underscore here. Devil May Cry, Ps2. You don't want to do it too late in the mix, because it only reads so many letters before it decides that everything is the same. So we'll go underscore there. Left auto. Replace the hyphen with an underscore. This might not be the ideal way to do this, but this is working out for me. Alternatively, with the failed ones, if it's possible, I would recommend using HDL Dump Helper GUI. Unfortunately, it's not an option for me because that has been nuked for me. It just doesn't work anymore. Alright, and for these, I'm just gonna go ahead, delete all that, delete all that. Battlefront 2 underscore. We'll go CMD, right click, go to our drive, CD space, location, copy paste the bat file. There we go. 4. These are DVDs. Alright. And this one's working. So rinse and repeat here. Just let it install. And then if you get any more errors, just mix up the name a little bit. And hope for the best until you get everything installed. Alright, so once you finally have all the games that you want on your hard drive, all the PS2 games that is, what you're going to want to do is load up the latest OPL manager, and now we're going to be getting artwork for all of the games. And just to be clear here, the reason we use the older version of OPL Manager previously was to get the proper naming format. If we were to use the modern one and plug all of our games into it, it would force us to use the obnoxious, really long SLUS. They all have the game ID in it. Now that the games are on the hard drive, it is not going to prompt us to rename it or anything. So that's pretty nice. So we're loading up the latest one. And once we're in here, we're going to go to Settings, Change Mode, and set it to local PS2 hard drive. HDL Dump 90 will do. Go Save. And also make sure you're running this in administrator mode. If you have any issues with it reading anything, writing anything, it needs to be in administrator mode. Yeah. Alright, so once we get that set, we're going to go local HDD options, get game list, And this may take you a minute here. Might freeze up. Don't worry about it. Alright. Very nice. Very nice. So, now that we got this guy all set up here, what we're going to want to do is grab artwork. Make sure everything's ticked here. We're going to get all sorts of artwork. And just let it do its thing. This does not take long. And it will get all the artwork for you. Hey now, would you look at that? It is complete. We got the artwork, all the artwork. It is downloaded. Very nice. Now, let's go over some themes to make your OPL experience look pretty nice. Pretty nice. So we're going to take a little stroll over here to the PS2 home forums. And we got all sorts of little themes. Now I have a few already. Oh, this one's neat. I haven't seen this. This is a comic book theme. We're just going to grab that. You're going to need WinRAR or 7-zip. It's a .7z file. And we end up with this guy. Now what you do is you navigate to your new OPL manager folder, and you pop that sucker right here. We got OPL manager, and we go into HDL HDD, then we go into the THM folder here. Now as you can see, I've got Pylo, I've got PlayStation wallpaper. Retro OPL is my favorite, but we're gonna add this comic book one. Are you sure if you move this? Huh. Yeah, whatever. That'd be fine. Okay. Now let's check out a few more. What's up with neon red? That's whatever. Got a Matrix theme, huh? Don't much like that. JJ's texture. Yeah, these are pretty crap. This one's sick. I really like this one. Got your nice little TV there. Yeah, puts the screenshots in the TV. This one's really clean. Got your disc art. And then it changes depending on which one you're on. Like if you're on PS2 games or PS1 games, it's got different vibes there. So I like this one. 'Tis a really good theme. Okay, so we got that squared away. Got some themes collected. Now the last thing really worth going over here is setting up apps. Nope. Tools. So we go into Tools, go to App Installer. What we're going to do is we're going to compile some apps and put them in this folder here. Start from scratch here. Alright, so I've compiled a good bit of apps to be able to be booted here from the from OPL itself, and we're going to be setting up OPL to boot, or our PS2 to boot directly into OPL. Now I'm going to just go ahead and include these with the files, so you don't really need to do anything if you don't want to, but if you want to add more applications, then you might want to continue on here. Alright, so we're going to go browse here, and then we're going to navigate to apps folder with an OPL manager. We're just going to go ahead and add each of these individually. So PFS0, that is our internal hard drive here. And yeah, save that. And let's just keep on rolling along the line here. Alright, so once you get all your apps installed here through OPL Manager, yeah, so once you got all the apps installed or set up, you will have this configs_apps.config. Should look something like this, and this is, I will be including this in the downloads along with the apps that I have set up. If you guys don't want to deal with it and just use the setup that I have, then you're good to go. Yeah, well, now it's just a matter of transferring the following files over to our PS2. So we want to transfer apps, art, config, theme, and config_apps. Now I'm going to be doing this over FTP, and if you're doing this over USB, it's fine. The only thing is I've had issues transferring large amounts of files, like the artwork. It will like act like it's transferring, but it fails. So basically, if you're going to be doing this over USB, you want to go ahead and maybe like select like a chunk of them, like I don't know, like 100 maybe. Just do them like 100 at a time. Maybe push the limits, see how many will go without issue. But yeah, you need to do it in chunks. At least in my experience, I needed to do it in chunks. So I show you how to set up FTP later in the PS1 section, but don't worry about it. We'll just go over it twice, just in case you only want PS2 games and you don't want to deal with all the PS1 games, because that is a bit more tedious and involved and takes a long time, especially if you don't have FTP. But even with FTP, it takes a while. So we're gonna go into search and go CMD, open a command prompt, type IP config, and this default gateway here is what you're gonna want to remember. Mine is 192.168.50.1. This is my computer's IP address, and we're going to need to make a static one. So we're going to be making a random number between 1 and 255 here to choose as our PS2's IP address. I chose 69 because I'm classy like that. And yeah, we'll set that up on the PS2 right now. Real quick, before we pop on the PS2, we are going to want to get RadHost client running. So we got RadHost client right here. Go ahead and run it as administrator. And I already have my static IP set up. Choose whatever it is you are going to set. Just make up this last portion of the IP address, whatever you've decided is a good number to set it on your PS2, and just make sure you do not set it to one that is already an IP address on your system. So if my computer's in the high 200s here, so I'm going with a lower number. If yours are all lower numbers, this should be a higher number, and you're probably set. And if you have issues, try a different number. So I got this going here, and we just want to drag the OPL manager this HDL underscore HDD folder here. Just make sure you drag that over on your rad host client. And if you're unable to drag it, you might need to restart the program. Sometimes this will happen. I already have mine set up. But if it doesn't work, just restart it. Maybe try it not as administrator until you're able to drag it over to the rad host client. So we got over here, I got my PS2 up and running. So we go to launch ELF. And to be clear, my PS2 is plugged in, as well as my free MacBoot memory card. My hard drive is plugged into the network adapter. The network adapter is plugged into the console. And I have an Ethernet cable hooked up to my PS2, which is hooked up to my router. Therefore, I'm able to transfer files via rad host client. So here we are in launch ELF, and we're going to hit select, and we're going to go down to network settings here. And for IP address, it is what I chose in rad host client, which is 50. That is my default gateway, and we're going to change this to 69. Okay. And then for gateway here, we got 192.168, and for me it's 50. And make sure you set this up properly. It's just going to be different for different routers. Have different strings of numbers, but the most common is 192.168.1, and then 1 is the usual. Now that I got my setup set up, we're going to go to save. Got it. I'm going to hit return. And also here, just out of personal preference, we're going to go to the start section. I'm going to scroll down to MISC, and we are going to choose PSNet. Go OK on here. Now, as you can see, if we hit start, it will boot up PS2Net, which is the FTP server, meaning we could transfer files over network from our computer. So if we go start here, and make sure the Ethernet cable is hooked up, and otherwise it will not work. And this will only work with the OEM network adapters that have been converted to SATA. Do not work on the GameStar ones. Okay, so we got that going. Now all we gotta do is go over here, choose host, and you gotta kind of refresh it a couple times. Yeah, refresh it, and then eventually the little let's go back to desktop. The little icon here on rad host client will turn from red to green once it's connected. So we go back here, open this folder up, and I am transferring artwork, apps, config, theme, and the config underscore apps.config. So we're going to choose, hit R1, choose copy, triangle, triangle. We go to HDD0. And this can take quite a while depending on how much you have on your internal hard drive. Alright. And now we're going to open up plus OPL. And we're going to hit R1, paste. And we're just going to go ahead and overwrite anything it asks us to overwrite. Yes, this. Alright, so I got everything transferred here. Just one last thing to transfer over. This config underscore apps doesn't really read from the internal hard drive, so what we're going to do here is we're going to cut this guy. We're going to go back and we're going to add this to our memory card. So we go into this OPL folder here, and I already have one, but you're going to want to paste it here. And there you go. That's all there is to it. Okay, so I ran into a bit of a hang-up still while transferring artwork over FTP. Same with USB. This is just seems to be something that happens with ULaunch I've scrolled all the way to the bottom here, which took quite a while. And the max, or we have SLUS 20246. That is the last file according to ULaunch. However, if we go over to the desktop here, we're in that folder. It is only about 1/3 of the way down. So let's see here. I mean, there's a couple ways we can go about this. We could transfer them in chunks, try to do it over USB. It seems like it's capable of doing. I selected this amount, and it is about 2,000, a little over 2,000. So let's go back here. The lab is the last one. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Got SLUS. This is the next one in line, already highlighted. And if we go 1,000, a little under 2,000. So if it stays consistent, this should be good. And we're just going to make another folder here called Art2. Yeah, this is the second time I've set up a 2 terabyte hard drive, and I had this issue before when I was doing everything over USB. I figured that FTP would solve this problem, but apparently not. Unfortunately. Okay, so here's Art2. I'm going to open this up. And once it finally opens, we are just going to hold X until it scrolls all the way to the bottom and selects everything. It should speed up. Cool. And we are going to make a point to double check once everything's selected that in the folder itself on the computer that it is actually everything and it doesn't cut off at a certain point. Okay, everything is selected, and I'm looking right now at the folder, and 20994 SCR, so that is indeed everything, all these files. So that is cool. So R1 copy, we'll triangle out, HDD 0. Plus OPL, art, wait for it to load up, and then we're just going to hit paste. Okay, it's loaded up. We're gonna hit paste. And at this point, we're gonna let this paste. And we're gonna divide this up into an art3. Should be able to get the rest of it. Okay, so we left off at, last one was 209.94. We see the cutoff right here from 202 to 209. So we're going to select the rest, see how much that is. Okay, even less than last time. So this, we got two more, the current batch and then one more batch. So we're going to cut these guys, go back and do an art3 folder. Art3. Paste. Okay. There you go. So it's just rinse and repeat. Once this finishes, just go back to host, select everything in art3, copy it to the art folder on your internal hard drive, and there you go. So let's load up OPL. Let's go to apps. Open PS2 loader. Well, alright. So we're here in OPL. Would you look at that? We got artwork. We got our nice little themes going. So it takes a second or so to populate with the artwork once you hover over a game, but dude, it's pretty sick. Look at that. So it took me a minute of derping around to get my settings right here. There's one setting I had on that was breaking the whole thing. I was making it endlessly load, and the PS1 games were not showing up. So let me show you what I got here. So we got on, if you want to pause and just copy what I got, because I messed around quite a bit. I want to turn off USB, boom, and defaults at HDD Games. That's good. Display settings. So here's where we pick the theme. So pick whatever theme you like. I like the retro though. So automatic sorting is on. Automatic refresh. This is the one that was screwing everything up. I don't know what it's supposed to do. All I know is that what it does do is completely breaks OPL. So cover art, make sure that's on. Display info. I like the notifications are nice. All that, I'm keeping it stock. The network config. Now if you set it up for FTP earlier, this should already be mostly set up, but I changed mine to static here, and then went down, and you got to make sure by default my gateway was not correct, so just make sure your default gateway is correct. And DNS server, you're going to want that to be the same as your default gateway. That's what worked for me. So we hit OK there. And if you do have a network adapter, I highly recommend doing this network update. This will grab all of the configs for your game. It's like the default configs that people have confirmed are working, so you don't need to mess around getting black screens and trying to get a game to work. So I turn that on, hit it with a start, and give it a go. Now mine kept failing. It was failing around the 97 mark. So it grabbed most of the games, but not all of them, unfortunately. Yeah, if you have that issue, I think you either need to figure out what game is causing it to fail, if it keeps failing at the same spot. So mine's not. Let's see what happens this time. Weird, I just keep getting booted. Very odd. So what I'm going to end up having to do here is going through. If we hit triangle on one, so you can see this one already has the defaults downloaded. Most of them do. And for the ones that don't, we just go into game settings, download defaults. So I'm going to go through all of those and all the tedium that entails. Not right now, but that is how you do it. And here you go. Here's the apps. And I didn't set up artwork for these. This is fine. But we got HD loader. This is nice for, it's pretty much the proto OPL. OPL is still active. HD loader is dead. But the only benefit to HD loader over OPL, which is a pretty big one, is it allows you to rip disks directly to your internal hard drive, which is a really nice feature. So yeah, it's worth keeping around for that. Codebreaker, I'm going to set this up. It's currently set up the default way, where if we load it up, pick a cheat, we got to put a disk in. But all we have to do is pretty much make a copy of the OPL ELF and rename it, and it can boot into OPL. And yeah, we pick our cheats, boot into OPL, load a game, and the cheat should work just fine after making some minor adjustments. Okay, now that we're all set up here, what I'd like to do is set up the PS2 to boot directly to OPL. So what we're going to want to do is go into FreeMcBoot configurator. I'm going to hit X. And it's loaded the config from the memory card, which is what we want. Now we just go down to configure E1 launch keys. Go to auto, MC0, apps, PNP, that is OPL. Then we go return, save CNF to MC0, select exit. Now, as you can see, when we exit this, it is now just booting straight into Open PS2 loader. And if you ever want to get to the browser when starting up the console, all you have to do is hold L1 while the console is booting, and it will boot into the browser. There's a lot of other keys you can use as well, but I just stick with L1. Okay, so now I'm going to be showing you how to convert your PS1 games to the VCD format. This is the format you're going to need to have them on, to put them on your PS2 and have them work. So we've got this Q to Pops game, or application right here. We're going to need CD Mage. And this is only for games like this guy here, where it's got a bunch of bin files in a queue. This only works with games that are one queue and one bin. So yeah, one of these guys with a ton of tracks. You're going to, I'll just show you right now. You're going to need to open CD Mage. And then you open up the queue file and you just drag it over. I already have this guy open. and then you click the top right here, make sure this is highlighted, and then you go save as, and then you're gonna overwrite that Q file. And there you go. And now to create the VCD, let's do a new game here. We got Alone in the Dark, and this is in the proper format already, just one queue and one bin. And then we drag it over to Q2 pops. And that's all there is to it. It will create the VCD in the same directory right here. And you're eventually going to want to get all of those together. So you copy your VCDs. Got this little transfer folder here. Those VCDs are going to be going in the __.pops partition on the PS2 that we created earlier. There's another program you're going to want called Disk Pooper, and this is for multi-disc games. Alright guys, so as I'm going along converting these to VCD, I'm also transferring the VCDs to my OPL manager folder. So in PS2, my PS2 folder, we got OPL manager, and then HDL_HDD. We're going to be putting the VCDs in pops. Now the reason for this is once we are done with all of this, we're going to open up OPL manager, and it's going to rename all of these for us as well as get artwork. So you want to have them all in the same place, and we're going to want to do the OPL manager portion before we use that Disk Pooper app to create lists for all of our multi-disc games, because these names are going to change once we bring this into OPL helper. So if we do this beforehand, whatever Disk Pooper makes is not going to work. So yeah, get the VCDs here, and then once I'm done getting all these together, I'll show you how it works with OPL helper. Holy Lord, man. That took a hell of a long time, but I did it. And in my pops folder, within my HDL_HDD folder, within my OPL manager folder, I now have 171 VCD formatted games. Now if we go back, and this is still 10 gigs shy of my 100 gigabytes PS1 partition. But this will do for now. So we got all this set up, good to go, and we are going to boot up OPL manager. Alright, now let's go to change mode, and I'll go to normal. I'll go to save here. And we got 171 bad named ISOs. Showing bad ISO tab. Alright. Now we need to fucking manually go through here. Click each one of these and get title from the database. Okay. And then we update. Oh, can we batch convert? This tool allows you to convert old format VCD art example. Okay, so click mode. Alright, start. Cool. Now let's see. Did that do the job? Yes. Yes, it did. Okay. So we've renamed all of our VCDs. So now let's do another batch action here. Show bad ISO tab. What's wrong with these? You just... Oh, okay, name's too long, huh? Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so never mind. These won't... The title should be like this within OPL. It's just the file name is crazy long. So we still need to go through... $95. Alright. Alright, dudes, I got all of my badass ISOs renamed to things that are tolerable for the program. So now what we're going to do is go batch actions, art download, start. And we are going to get artwork for all of our PS1 games easily. No, I won't bore you with this process. It's going to do it all automatically. But just so you know, heads up, all that artwork is going to be downloaded in here. And it's going to be part of the collection of things that we are going to be transferring to the console, either via USB or over FTP, which is ideal. Alright guys, so we've got all of our VCD PS1 games here in this folder, and what I'm doing right now is setting them up so 2-disc games work. So as you know, when you get to the end of a disc on a PS1 game, it asks you to put in the next disc. We will need to set up some files so we can press a button combination to swap to the next disc for the game when we finish it. So you'll see these folders here. I've already gotten started, but let me show you an example here. We got Final Fantasy VII, and if you want to just like look for all the multi-disc games, you can go and search and just type in disc, and there you go. I'm just gonna eyeball it for now. So we got Final Fantasy VII. Drag it over. Alone in this folder, discs with the discs pooper.exe. We run this shady little app. It'll do its thing. Copy in the files. Challenge complete. And that's it. So we've got our games here, and for each disc, we now have a folder that has this nice little information linking all of the discs together. So you got that, and then we just transfer all these back within the folder with all of our VCDs. So that's pretty nice. So I want to get all these going, and then I'm going to be transferring all of these to my PS2 via FTP. Now it is time to transfer our PS1 games, our VCDs that we got made. We got the artwork for them, and we're going to transfer those over to our PS2 via FTP. Now you can do this over USB. It's just going to take you about 20 minutes per game, which is insane, and I don't want to do that. So I showed you how to do transfers via USB earlier. Now I want to be showing you how to do it over FTP if you have an official network adapter that's been modified with SATA. This will not work with those third-party GameStar ones, as they do not have any Ethernet ports on them. The first thing you're going to want to do is figure out what your default gateway is. So just go in Windows, go CMD, get a command prompt up here, and go IP config, like so. We are going to take note of this bottom one here, default gateway 192.168.50.1, and we're going to need that. And your subnet mask we're going to need is always, this is what it always is, 255 3 times and then a 0 is your computer's IP. We're going to be making up a static one for our PS2. Cool. And we're also going to need this rad host client, which we will get to in a moment. For now, let's set up FTP on our PS2. So we're going to go to launch ELF. Okay, and once you're in you launch ELF, W-launch ELF, whatever you got, go ahead, hit select. I'd recommend going down to start and hit circle, go down to mix, PS2 net, and then you're good there. And then we need to go into network settings, and for IP address, this is where for the first 3 you're going to copy what you got there in your default gateway. So mine was 192.168.50, and here's where you're going to make up the static number for your PS2. I chose 69. You hit X to add a number, or circle to add a number, X to subtract. Now your subnet mask should be set up already. And for gateway, that's your default gateway. So mine's 192.168.50 and 1. Then go ahead, hit circle to save it as ipconfig.dat to your memory card. Go ahead, hit return. Alright, so that is that. We're going to hit OK. And now make sure you have your Ethernet cable plugged in, or this will freeze. But once you got that set up, just go ahead, hit start. Get the load netfs and FTP modules, and there it is. It's running on the PS2. So let's go back to our desktop here. We're going to load up this rad host client. Alright, so in here, you're going to choose the IP address that you chose on your PS2. I chose 69. And you just drag over the files that you want to be accessible on your PS2, or the folders, that is. So in OPL Manager, I just went ahead and dragged over this whole HDL_HDD folder. And what we're going to be wanting from this, we're going to want the configs. We're going to want the art that we got. And we are going to want pops, but these are going to go, these are our VCDs. This format is for USB and SMB. We are going to be putting it in that __.pops partition that we made earlier. So that is neat. Cool, so let's go back to the PS2. Everything's set up here. So we go file browser, scroll down to host, hit circle, and sometimes it takes a couple times, and there it is. HDD1. Very nice. So we are going to copy over the artwork, so hit X and config. And that's it for now. Oh, no. Circle. So X to highlight art, X to highlight config, hit R1, circle to copy, triangle, triangle, HDD 0. We're going to scroll down to our OPL folder here. Going to hit R1, hit paste. Go ahead, overwrite it. Alright, so we got our artwork and our configs transferred. Now let's go back up, and go back to host, HDD1. And we are going to want to find the Pops folder here. And we are just going to hold down X as it selects every single thing in here. Alright, it gets to the bottom. Make sure the last one's selected as well. We're going to copy this. Triangle, triangle, triangle. HDD0. And we are going to go into this underscore dot pops folder that we created. Okay. That's right, I had a test game in here. I'm going to delete that. Did not show up because you need the whole game ID in the front. So we're going to paste this, and this is going to take quite a while, but nowhere near as long as it would take over USB. Alright. Now we're gaining a bit of speed. We're at about a megabyte a second here. Not the best. Definitely not the best, but that is a whole lot better than you would get over USB. So very nice. So we got about a minute for a Crash Bandicoot game as opposed to about 20 minutes over USB. So I'm not complaining. This is going to be a while though, but yeah, just let all these transfer. And then when you reboot back into OPL, you should have all those PS1 games. Holy Lord, did you really just make it to the end of this video? Did you watch this whole damn video? You're crazy, man. You're a legend. Thanks for sticking around. This is very long. This was a very long one. Took a long time to make. And, it took a long time to watch if you watch this whole damn thing. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys very, very much. Thanks for sticking around. And thank you for your support. A like would be very, very appreciated, as this took a lot of hours of my life and probably took a lot of hours off my life from all the troubleshooting I had to do. But hope you got what you came for, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.